How y'all doing? We just caught Scott Presler apparently at dinner. It's been a big weekend with Memorial Day, and we've just been having so many different things come at us with the horror that happened in Manchester. And I've been keeping my eye on the news with President Trump. And I got to guess very quickly say that Mr. Presler doesn't work for Donald Trump. I don't believe in any facet whatsoever. He's not making a dime. I'm just asking an individual that I've gotten to know a little bit in the past, his opinions on someone that he supported staunchly from, I believe, as far back as I can remember. Scott, how long have you actually been on the Trump train? Has it been since he threw his hat in the ring as just a Republican nominee?
Actually, I was a Scott Walker fan. Scott Walker was my man, and I ended up voting for Marco Rubio in the primary. But I've been on board with President Trump ever since Indiana, when it was very clear that he was going to get 1237.
Man, that's excellent. And that's why I don't like to speak for people, because I don't remember exactly when it was, but you've been a supporter for quite a long time. I've seen a lot of gays for Trump, and you seem to be right at the tip of the spear on that. And I did notice something maybe you'll tell us about at the end, this march against Sharia law. I see when you tweet that out and give a little bit of information. I've seen some articles on it. Anyway, Scott, I just want to jump into this so we can let you get on with your life. My question to you is, not just as a Trump supporter, but as someone that's a Republican. All right, the back channeling deal. The only thing I've heard on the news lately is Donald Trump is back channeling Russia. Donald Trump's White House is back channeling Russia. Unprecedented. This is the most horrible thing that's ever happened. And please, that's why you're here. I haven't taken a civics class or a political science class in some years. But the last one I took, if I remembered, Khrushchev did back channels. All of our presidents, from Woodrow Wilson to my knowledge to now, have had back channels with all kinds of countries, Russia included. Is that, school me on that a little bit and tell me maybe if that's the case, what I said, why are they doing this to Trump?
Well, you know, the other day I was talking to a very debonair man who happened to be Russian, and I found myself wondering today if the Democrats are going to want to investigate me for Russian ties. I mean, it's so out of control what they are spinning with their conspiracy theories, and I actually think it's quite hilarious that 4 months later, after President Trump has won the election, has been inaugurated, they have zero evidence. They have nothing. They've got no collusion. All they've got is Maxine Waters. And actually, I'm just going to let the Democrats continue to do an excellent job of painting themselves with this insanity. And Maxine Waters is leading the charge. So I'm not going to talk specifically about any back channels or anything. The point is the Democrat Party has no evidence of anything. And honestly, I'm just going to let them continue to keep digging themselves in a hole.
All right. Well, I'm going to stick to my promise. Yeah, I'm going to stick. And I'll tell you, gentlemen, now, so that really there'll only be one person. And if he's not ready, I'll go to somebody else. We'll go Conscious Caracal, Doppelganger, Leo, and then the Britisher. And then you know, we'll just keep it succinct. Gentlemen, go ahead. Caracal, what do you got?
Okay, I just wanted to start off with saying, hey, Mr. Presler, big fan from South Africa, the southern tip of the dark continent. My question would be, with the expected protests during the summer, anti-Trump protests, do you plan to be a presence at these protests, or anyone you know, do they plan to be a presence there?
We're not planning to do any counter protests. What we are doing is we are doing our national march on June 10th, and we're planning our own projects. I'm going to be leading a charge to have our summer of persistence. If they're going to be the party of no, and if they're going to be the party of resisting, we are going to be the party of persisting and persistence. And that means obstinance in the face of hardship. So they are going to continue to try to tell us what we can and cannot do, and we're going to continue to persist, and we're going to have fun while doing it. So if anybody wants to learn more, please go to @joinpersistence, that's ENCE, on Twitter. We're going to have our own boot camps, and I know that Act for America, we're going to have a boot camp where we teach people how to actually effective lobby their congressional people and their legislators so we can pass bills across the country. So we are in this for the long term, 100%.
Awesome. No, that's actually a pretty good strategy you're going to follow. But my question would also then be, we'd also need people to report on the ground. But I'm expecting a lot of Trump supporters to be at these anti-Trump protests, just to give a unbiased perspective, so that we don't just get little snippets that painted as peaceful or just as effective, I guess. So I was just asking if you know of people that are going to be there on the ground reporting on these protests as well, these anti-Trump protests.
Sure, I don't know of anybody in particular that will be going, but I mean, I bet you that people like Mike Cernovich, Jack Pacific, Lauren Southern, what we need is we need a rise of citizen journalism. We need normal people, average Joes like you and me, to step up to the plate and to do our research and go to these rallies and report. Because the fact of the matter is the media is not reporting. The media has already come up with a conclusion, and what they do is then after finding a conclusion, they try to find sources to purport the results that they've already played inside their mind, which is why Hillary Clinton lost. They already came up with a conclusion that she was going to win, and they tried to find every single article to show that she would, and guess what? We, the American people, voted, and she lost. So we need a rise of citizen journalism.
Another guy on a previous stream made the analogy where he said Trump's relationship to the media is like a game of telephone where everyone hates your guts, which I think is a pretty apt metaphor for the situation that he's in. That's why he's using his tweets to directly contact the people rather than having to deal with a filter to reach them, which I think is a brilliant strategy.
And I love it. Whenever President Trump tweets, I tweet at him because now that I'm a verified account, I know that my blue checkmark account is going to be at the top of the algorithm. So I make sure people know that there are blue verified Twitter accounts that are going to support our president. So I make sure to tweet at him constantly.
You're quite lucky to be in that elitist club of the blue chips. Not many non-democratic voices get that privilege.
We mean just verified Twitter? I'm verified Twitter, and it's not even my real name. I got a verified account. Verified is just a made-up construct I came up with. But very good questions, Caracal. Do you have something, Doppelganger? I hate to keep going, folks, but we see that we're right in the middle of Scott's life. I just want to get whatever we want, and he has some answers that I like.
No,
and
please,
if you don't like them,
I like the hard questions.
Hey, we'll go back around the circle, Dopp, and believe me, or excuse me, Mr. Presler, and I'm saving the Britisher for the last, so I'm sure he'll have maybe one or two questions. Go ahead, Dopp, if you got something.
Hello, Mr. Scott. Nice to have you here with us. And let me ask you this, expanding on previous questions, where do you actually get your news, or what news sources do you follow?
Sure. I mean, I follow everything. I follow The Guardian. I follow Independent. I follow CNN. I actually like to use liberal sources against them. So if people trust CNN and WAPO, I'm going to use Washington Post against them, because then they won't be able to say, oh, you watch Fox News, or oh, you watch Breitbart, or oh, you're just a conservative. Use the liberals' own news sources against them. It's very clever, and then they won't be able to say anything against it. So I get my news from a very eclectic source of information. I'm constantly looking at what angles a news source is using and trying to see what the spin is. I think we should constantly be analyzing in the news, what is their spin, what is their angle, and compare it to other news sources to see if we can find the truth in between the media's lies.
All right, I was going to let you have a follow-up if you wanted, Dopp. That was good. How about you, Leo? This is a new guy to the stream, brother from Pennsylvania, somewhere in the middle of a mountain, probably with a woods he's looking at. Do you have something for Mr. Presler, anything at all? I'm sure he's got big shoulders.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
5 by 5.
5 by 5. Awesome. I was just wondering, since you led the Gays for Trump rallies and all of that, did you experience any backlash from the general LGBT community from the left?
Oh my gosh. Not only did I experience backlash from my own LGBTQ community, but I still to this day get death threats from Democrats. I mean, literally, I have never felt so much hate before from the Democrat Party, but at the same token, I've never felt so much love from the Republican Party. When I came out as gay, it was the best day and it was the worst day, because I was fully embraced by the Trump community and I was fully exiled by the Democrat Party. And it's been very difficult to get any standing with the gay community. But slowly, some people are waking up. They're waking up to the threat of radical Islam. They're waking up to the threat of this misogynistic, homophobic ideology that is on our shores now. So it's been hard, but it's also been nice with this this new, changing, emerging Republican Party of inclusiveness.
Yeah, I can. That's great. And like Dop said, I was just going to let everybody have a follow, but we'll keep going around the circle. What do you got, Britisher?
Well, what I would like to sort of ask is, because I think we're all aware of the fact that politics is becoming ever more tribal. And I mean, in that regard, you seem to be quite sold on effectively being a Republican. And last time round, we had you tell us that you were also quite interested in perhaps one day standing for office. So I was kind of wondering, to what extent there was kind of an element of self-reflection there. I mean, can you see within the 4 or 5 months we've had of Trump so far, can you actually see any mistakes he's made? Or are we really looking at it purely from the prism of our side is right and the other side is wrong? Do you understand what I mean?
I do. Well, let me put it this way. The more vitriolic and the more vehement that the Democrat Party becomes towards President Trump, the stronger of a supporter that I become towards him. So are we all humans? Yes. Do we all make mistakes? Yes. But again, the more that they attack him, the more that it makes me passionate to support the Republican Party. The more that they attack him, the more that it makes me want to become more of an activist and register more people to vote and support President Trump even more. So yes, of course, our president has said and did some things that he shouldn't do. But do I support 73% illegal border crossings going down? Do I support him making a $50 billion deal with Saudi Arabia? Do I support him freeing the Hijazi family from Egyptian prison after they were in prison for 3 years and President Obama failed to bring them home? Do I support our president? 100%.
I got to say this, Nev. Oh, go ahead, Britt. If you got one follow-up, I'm going to keep it real. I want to say something really quick. In a book that I've just been reading again called The Stand, this guy's talking about how they're murdering they're murdering people to keep the news from getting out that they started this super flu that's killing mankind off. And he's recalling something that he learned in boot camp or back in West Point. And 2 old men are with him. They're playing poker. And they're talking about this incident, this terrible thing that happened and how they had to cover it up. And the man said this: when any branch of service comes into question, they've done something so terrible as this, it's kind of like coming upon your mother or your father that's been raped or beaten. And when you come upon your father that's been raped or beaten, or your mother that's been raped or beaten, what's the first thing you want to do? And that's clothe their nakedness and cover their shame that they may feel. And so I'm just going to say that I loved your answer. And whereas I also find fault in the guy, believe me, I won't enumerate it now because maybe the Britisher has a follow-up with one of his faults. And I want to hear some too, though. That's a challenge to everybody because Scott and I will probably be the apologists here. So hit him this next round, folks, if you got something serious to ask. And not that those last questions weren't. That's a nice idea. Go ahead, Brett.
Well, yeah, I'll say, I mean, you did dodge the question a bit there because you ended up sort of listing in a way how wonderful he is. So, I mean, to put it like this, I am hardly a great fan of the screeching Democrats. So that is, that's kind of understood. But if we kind of look at it, we also have to acknowledge that he promised there would be a wall and that it would be started right away. And as far as I know, there is no work on the wall ongoing so far.
Well, I mean, we've already heard John Kelly say that not only are we working on the wall, but we already have, projections lined up for the end of the summer. So the wall is something that we are going to build. And I even tweeted out to President Trump myself. I said, I will even help you build the wall if I have to and donate my money. So the wall is something that's going to happen. And people don't even understand. It's going to be more than just protection for our country. But I believe it's going to become something of a huge tourist attraction, bringing even more money to our economy.
And I see something else I got to interject here because I know that some others are going to have some toughies for you too. But I must say, I listened to at least 50 of his rallies before leading up to. I listened to him every day as motivation. The guy's a motivational speaker, man. To me, he is. And I remember what he said. He said that he said part of it won't be a wall, an actual wall. Some of it is natural barriers. Some of it will be able to be surveilled. He mentioned several things that they never talk about because he did say there'll be places where there'll be walls and fences. But if you go back and listen very carefully to what he said, folks, he didn't say there was going to be a brick and mortar wall 12 feet wide and 1,000 feet tall all the way along the southern border. It's not what he said.
No.
And he's channeling. So I don't just sit here and stand with you, Scott. I'm going to shut up. You got to take these on your own, brother, because otherwise we'll get two answers to each one of these.
They would pretty much start right away. And we saw that then when it actually came to crunch time with the budget, he backed down.
Take it, Scott, if you got something for that.
I mean, the fact of the matter is we are going to have a wall. I mean, people are focusing on 100 days of President Trump. Do you expect him to accomplish everything in 100 days? No, but are we so proud of what he has in this short amount of time? Definitely. I mean, he's keeping his campaign promises. We have no TPP. We have voice. Like I said, border crossings are down. I'm so thrilled that he is keeping everything. It wasn't just campaign rhetoric. It wasn't just Obama hope and change. It wasn't just if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor. It was real change and real results, which we're seeing right now, which is why, and this is something I'm going to mention at the end as well, every single person watching this needs to vote on Tuesday, November 6, 2018, because real progress is going to continue when we keep the House and the Senate, and we can continue to fulfill President Trump's mission of keeping his agenda. But it starts with us. We have to continue to vote.
I'll watch your Twitter and I'll make sure that I do a little thing. And British, I got to keep this going around. So I'm just going to hold that and we'll see if we can do at least one more with him. But I'm just going to make a statement again, Scott, as pertaining to the questions of will you be there? You were there with James Alsop, I want to say is his last name. Got hit in the head with a stick, busted his scalp open. So wherever you go, I mean, whether you're counter protesting or demonstrating or marching against Sharia law, my hat's off to that, because it's obvious that you're you're putting yourself in that situation. So your words hold a lot of sway for me, Conscious Caracal. His words hold a lot of sway for me. Go ahead, brother. Conscious.
My question would be, could you elaborate on I saw your latest tweet on Kathy Griffin and this whole story. Do you expect any action from the authorities on this, or any intervention, or is that wishful thinking?
I mean, of course, I think it's wishful thinking, but we need to call them out. If Kathy Griffin is going to hold up a President Trump likeness head saturated with blood, that is a threat. That is an act of domestic violence. And I do believe that she should at least be investigated for that, whether it's a joke or whether it's not. People have gone to jail for worse. So
I saw a tweet today. I actually saw a tweet today where someone compared like her image to like an image of an ISIS fighter with like someone's head, and he's like, who wore it better? And I thought that was actually a pretty apt
Yeah, we've come to the point.
As well. For example, there's this image of just all these ISIS fighters and they look exactly like Antifa, and we're like, who wore it better? Exactly the same scenario. So many parallels you can draw between the two movements and ideologies.
Exactly. We've come to the point where Antifa dresses like ISIS and Kathy Griffin holds up a head like ISIS fighters do. So what is the difference? I'm really trying to figure it out.
You get them burning signs that say free speech, just like radical ISIS fighters would also say, but no, fuck your free speech, you know what I mean? So you get so many of these parallels between the two ideologies, and then you can kind of actually start understanding the unholy marriage that the Democrats and the left have with radical Islam to an extent. It kind of starts making sense when you see these parallels.
Well.
No, it definitely makes sense, which is why we have to arm people with knowledge. We have to arm people with facts, because what I spit off when the Britisher was trying to, tie me up about President Trump, you have to be able to spit out these facts, because what people don't understand is the Democrat Party just deals with rhetoric. They just deal with, oh, you're racist, sexist, misogynistic, xenophobic, transphobic, whatever. But they won't give you specific examples. I'm going to give you specific examples of the Democrat Party being violent, like what you were talking about, Ogre, with James Alsop. I'm going to give you specific examples of them inciting violence, like Kathy Griffin with a decapitated head of our president saturated in blood. I'm going to give you evidence and facts and intellect and knowledge, and also pull at the emotional heartstrings. And that's what we need to do as conservatives. We need to learn better at being messaging and at articulating and at being eloquent and at giving
and
what we need to independence. Exactly.
Yeah, setting a brand. That's
I got it, Conscious. That was really good. There was a subliminal messages in there for me. I know, very, very well said. Hey, go ahead with one more little one, but look, we're going to go right around the circle. Conscious, so Dop, you're up, man. If go ahead, cancel the, yeah, if you've got something quickly, let's keep it rolling. We're going to get down to the tough end again, Scott. Don't worry, British is over there going, tangle him up, did I? He's got something for you, believe it.
Yeah, the last thing I just wanted to add was, no, great point. We need to bring these parallels to light. Shaming Antifa for their parallels with ISIS is exactly what we need to do. We need to expose the radical nature of their ideology, because then we shame them into self-reflection to an extent. They'll think like, shit, are we the baddies?
Well, and if I may, okay, so just today, I had the Conservative Savage, this new right organization that did an interview on me, right? So I talked about how my being with the Gays for Trump and my experience. And we had a liberal that commented on there, and he said, wow, he says, you know, something is happening when gays are actually trusting more of Trump than they are the Democrat Party. He said, we are losing our base. And what's more is, let's talk a second about the march against Sharia. What people don't understand, okay, let's talk about a little bit of history. The Democrat Party has constantly said that they fight for women, and they fight for gays, and they fight for children, right? Okay, well, they are tying themselves to pro-Sharia law advocates like Linda Sarsour. Yes, Linda Sarsour, the one who's been invited to the commencement speech at CUNY, who's also an anti-Semite, and pro-BDS, which is boycott, divest, and sanction Israel. Anyway, regardless, the Democrat Party is tying themselves to Sharia when Sharia is as homophobic and misogynistic and as pedophilic as it possibly gets. So you have a gay Republican having to tell the Democrat Party that they shouldn't be misogynistic and homophobic and pedophilic. And that shows the changing dynamic of this new world that we live in. The roles are reversing. The shift is happening like it did in the past. And the Republican Party is becoming more inclusive and accepting than the Democrat Party.
Yeah, but then you get shamed and called the LGBT equivalent of an Uncle Tom, basically. I can imagine.
Oh man, look what they've done to Milo. Look how they've done Milo. Yeah, I mean, that's one way to look at it too. And no, Brett, go ahead, man. If you got something to tie it in with Dop, I hate to with Dank. Go ahead, Britisher. We got time, and it's your show, brother.
Well, no, I don't really think we have time for that. So you know, what I would like to bring up in that case would be, you know, given that we were talking about the wall before, it would be pretty much perhaps the one thing that made the greatest impact during the Trump campaign. And that was because if I would be in charge, you'd be in prison. And I don't think that's happened.
I mean, again, Britisher, with all due respect, we are over 100 days in, and we have been locked up.
There is no sign of it happening. They've made it quite clear that it's not going to happen.
Finish my thought. Thank you. We have had an FBI director, James Comey, who has been sticking up for Hillary Clinton, and he has been in for 3 months. So we haven't exactly had an FBI who is going to investigate Hillary Clinton for her crimes. And we still, at this moment, don't have an FBI director who is going to investigate her for her many crimes. The fact of the matter is we do luckily have Anthony Weiner, who has been charged, and I think he's been sentenced for his crime, or at least been indicted for his pedophilia. But once we get an FBI director, I do have faith that we are going to persecute or at least investigate into Hillary Clinton. But we have been locked up from not only Obama leftovers, but also James Comey, who has been the biggest sore, I think, in President Trump's administration.
And what about Seth Rich? I would, again, and Britisher, I know you got something else, but I do believe, listen, two things. Maybe I'm wrong, Scott, everybody, but we have a long-standing history of the incoming president pardons the outgoing president. And I think that extends to running people. I mean, like, I don't know. No matter what he said, I'm going to remember one thing, Britisher. If anyone out there thought that Hillary Clinton was going to don some orange and be pulling the ball and chain the day that Trump got elected, I think they're a little wacko. In fact, I would say if anybody thought that she was indicted on something serious and was convicted of, let's say, whatever, I don't want to make these assumptions. I don't know what kind of trouble that could get me in legally. But just to say she was indicted for something and charged and convicted and given a sentence, I think that President Trump would probably say, you know what, it's a pardon. I mean, give me a break.
Well, I would also like to disagree with the premise of the Britisher statement. His premise is to argue that a majority of people, or at least it was a swaying effort, that people voted for Trump because he would lock Hillary up. No, people voted for Trump because they are sick of the establishment, because they want to put food on their table. Look at Wisconsin. Hillary Clinton did not go to Wisconsin one time, and Wisconsin has had the middle class been subjugated the most and been let down the most. We're talking about people that are struggling to get by. So, while it's all good to say that, lock her up was a reason why people voted for Trump, the reality is people are starving, people are struggling. Our VA is not being taken care of. Our infrastructure is crumbling. Our education is terrible. People want jobs and food on their table. So I do disagree with the premise of your subject that people voted for Trump because of lock her up.
Well, Britt, if you got something else, get it. But I'll say this much. Time will tell also, because I don't know if I'm just with Scott because I want to believe that other people voted with the same idea that I have. And that is, man, yeah, I cheered when he said, because you'd be in jail at the debate. I cheered, man. I was like, yeah. But I didn't think I'm just going to say it. I didn't think for a second that was going to happen.
And let me tell you a brief.
Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
Yeah,
and do you think that would affect the vote?
About my friend in Orlando, excuse me, not Orlando, but at Florida State University. So he not only was a one-time Obama supporter, but a two-time Obama supporter, Bernie Sanders supporter. Guess who he voted for? He voted for Trump. And actually, he messaged me. We had stopped talking because we couldn't talk politics because it was just too much. And he messaged me randomly on Facebook and he said, MAGA. And I said, question mark. I said, aren't you a Democrat? And he says, Democrats can't vote for Trump, question mark. He was so fed up with the DNC rigging the election against Hillary that he, a two-time Democrat, Obama supporter, Bernie Sanders supporter, voted for Trump. It was anti-establishment. It was anti the system that rigged the election for Hillary Clinton.
I like it so much, Scott. I'm gonna keep on letting you do that as often as you want. And so that said, you know what, Leo, I don't think you said but one thing. You got something else you want to throw on this pile?
Actually, I think the Britisher might have a question. I'll yield my time to him.
There you go, brother. And if you want to follow up as soon as he's done, jump right in.
Well, you said, Scott, that one of the reasons people voted for Trump was because he was non-establishment. He's got 5 staffers from Goldman Sachs. Is that non-establishment?
I think at least my vision of establishment is people like John McCain and people like Lindsey Graham and people like John Kasich. My idea of establishment is the Romneys of the world. I don't think that working for Goldman Sachs makes you establishment, because look at Ted Cruz's wife. She worked for Goldman Sachs, I believe, right? And they're as Tea Party far right as you can possibly get. So I don't think necessarily who you work for, but it's more of your mentality. What is your strategy in politics?
You don't think that most people would think that having Goldman Sachs as about would be a fair sign of it being establishment?
Well, let me look up very quickly how many people work for him, Britisher, while he answers that.
I mean, I think the left is going to try to demonize. Like, I'll pull up Bernie Sanders for a second. You know, you're stacking your administration with billionaires. What is wrong with having rich, successful people like President Trump in his administration? What, does he want to hire poor people?
Yes, exactly. Oh, yeah, no,
sorry.
Well, yes, but what I mean is, it was you who basically said he was non-establishment, and therefore basically it therefore is upon you to define to us if that isn't establishment. What
but he's kind of caught in a catch-22, where he wants to hire successful businessmen, people that are successful at organizing and good at business, by trying to do a strategy where let's have the government run by people that know how to run a business. So I think that's the rationale that he's going towards. For example, you can't just hire a bunch of people that are good at business without hiring a few establishment people, as you said.
Well, exactly, and it's not only that, but look, just because we get President Trump in there doesn't mean that every magic hole is finally filled. I mean, look, he has people like Reince Priebus in there. He even interviewed with Romney. What President Trump did was strategic. He had the factions of the Tea Party. He had the factions of the moderate. He had the factions of the Republican Party. What he's done has been strategic. He's filling the holes with people that he thinks can be good for that job. So, I mean, to argue that because you have 5 Goldman Sachs people makes you anti-establishment, I mean, I'm going to call BS on that.
And also, I just want to throw in here, Brett, one thing I vehemently agree with. I need to know who the Goldman Sachs people are and what else they've done and what they've done there, because 34,400 people worked for him in 2016, and it's a big place that deals with a lot of money.
Going to be the, you know, I mean, we know that we are going to be talking about the upper echelons of Goldman Sachs.
Well, I mean, if you add, and I know that you can chuckle at that figure, but I want you to couple that with, this isn't 7-Eleven, mate. We're talking about 34,000 people in banking and moving money, commodities. I mean, in this giant thing. And a lot of those people are movers and shakers. And I will say this, I haven't seen in his administration anybody, even Tillerson, they were like hammering on Tillerson. Tillerson is a monster. Oh, go ahead.
Did we not hear people being fairly critical, in fact, on the Republican side during the campaign?
And see what's happened here also.
When Goldman Sachs was paying
we can argue about this all day
$250,000.
tomorrow. No, okay, I know, and we can discuss
it is establishment when it's Hillary Clinton, but it is not establishment when it is Donald Trump. Do you see the delineation here?
Again, I would just go back, and I'd want to say we got a guest, so I'll let him answer that if he wants.
I mean, honestly, we do what they did. So if you're going to call us establishment because of that, you fight fire with fire. We're going to bring it back right to them and point a mirror at them. You can argue that on every single case out there. So did we talk about that with Hillary Clinton? Yes, but we used it as a tool to take her down, and it worked. So we're going to do whatever it takes to take them down. And like Ogre, and like Ogre was talking about, I wasn't even happy about Rex Tillerson at first. You know, the optics, I think, was an issue, as Finer Point was talking about. Optics was an issue, but he's doing a fantastic job. Every single person of his staff has been doing an amazing job, with the exception of the people that are Obama leftovers that are leaking, which hopefully are going to be fired this week.
Yep, and I did fire with fire. I can't really add much to that. I'll just say thanks for having big shoulders. We're going to go around again. Britisher, start us off this time, and then I'm going to go backwards. You got to have something to say, Leo. You've been so polite and kind. I'm so glad to have you here. And then we'll go to Dop, Caracal, and I'll just let you wrap it on up then, Scott, after I just say a couple words. Thank you, sir. We'll try to do this in 8 minutes, boys, so keep it going. Go ahead, Brett.
Okay, well, NATO. NATO was obsolete. Now it isn't anymore. How come?
I mean, I am not well versed in NATO. I do believe in the policy of everybody paying their fair share. So I do believe that every country should pay as much as that.
I agree with you on that. I understand that. But these were 2 quotes of Trump's, that NATO is obsolete.
I mean, I'm not a NATO expert.
Now it is, and then once he was in office, now it is no longer obsolete. Those are the words.
Of course, it's called posturing. Do you think that his shaking hands with Macron and Angela Merkel is him being genuine and real? No, these people are anti-everything we stand for. They are pro-globalism. They are pro a refugee invasion. They're pro an immigration invasion. Okay. Do you think it's actually genuine? No, I believe that some of his posturing.
Which one of those 2 statements is the disingenuous one? That it is obsolete, or that it is no longer obsolete?
I think we can all agree that NATO is obsolete and that we need to pull out. And I think that we can agree that European countries need to pull out of the European Union. I think we're seeing a rise of nationalism across the world, and that President Trump is doing, Trump is doing what he has to do to posture. And that's what you have to do. You play the game.
You do realize that the only time that NATO has so far been called upon is when the US went into Afghanistan and NATO provided thousands of boots on the ground. Would you be willing to do without that in future?
Yes, I would. I'd be willing to do without, because you know what? We shouldn't have done it in the first place. So let's not go into endless wars that we don't need to go into.
I understand that, but let's say, for example, Korea would kick off, and you would have the possibility of having NATO on your side or not. I mean, the Roman Empire had allies.
Sure, and we've got allies. Do we need NATO? No. We have a better relationship now with President Trump, with Egypt and El-Sisi. We have a better relationship with King Salman in Saudi Arabia. We have a better relationship with Xi Jinping in China. Do we need NATO to get these allies? No.
Yeah, don't cost us nothing that way.
Yeah, we are working with countries that weren't being worked with under President Obama's regime, and we're working to denuclearize North Korea. So do I think that we need NATO to tell us, oh, you can play friendly with this person and you can help that person out? No. Give me a break.
I think you're underestimating the power of European countries compared to, say, Egypt.
I'm sorry?
I think you're underestimating the power of European countries compared to, say, Egypt.
Well, I mean, as history has constantly shown, it's been the United States bailing out German countries and European countries like Germany. So I think we're of the understanding that it's the United States that is the powerhouse, and we're seeing the European Union. I believe it's going to continue to crumble.
There is no doubt that the United States is a superpower. But, you know, I mean, NATO includes, for example, Great Britain and France, which are nuclear powers with... you would forgo that?
As I said, pull out of the UN, European countries pull out of the EU. I don't think we need to do it. What are we getting from it? What are we currently getting for it from our money? What is our money buying us?
And I could let you boys go at each other all night. Everybody's enjoying it in the chat. This is going to be a really great stream to put up, Scott. British, you two are both very game. And obviously, I think this could be, like I said, it could go on all night, Britt. You could ask, and the man's got an answer. I got to give it to you, Scott. I'm taking notes. So I will allow now, Leo, you got anything? Let's keep it short, boys. 1, 2, 3. Leo, Doppelganger, and Conscious Caracal.
Yeah, I'll
just gotta go eventually.
I'll just throw something soft here, you know, just to break the tension here. How was your run, Scott? You went out running with the sticker on your shirt?
It's always good when I go. Either I went up with a sticker because I was running on a short hill. I mean, like a very narrow lake path, and so I just had a Trump sticker on my front and back, and I didn't get any, mean people. And then, normally in my day-to-day life, I will run with a huge Trump keeps promises sign on my back, literally when I run. So now I always get honks, and people know me in my neighborhood. I'm Scott, the sign guy.
That's all right. All right, Dop, you got something, man?
Yeah, basically, as European, I'm observing the current influx of Islamists and Islamism into Europe, and to some extent to USA just as well. And so question goes like that, at what point should we start advising our gay friends or gay members of family, whatever, to perhaps move to some safer place? Or would you personally actually move somewhere at some point, or would you rather maybe stay behind and fight when the Islamism gets too dense, too tough in the country?
Want me to translate that for you?
Okay, so I think
he may have frozen. He may have frozen up on us. And if he did, I didn't get. If he did freeze and can't come back, I didn't get all the info. I think he said June 10th.
Yes, I think he said June 10th.
Yep, march against Sharia law, and I will get whatever information that he has on that if he doesn't join us again. But it's obvious that he took time out of his life. Looks like he was finishing up with dinner, and they might have been finishing up with the diner. They were not like they were getting ready to pack it in and get out of there. But
I think he said he was in a Starbucks, so chances are it was coffee.
Oh, Starbucks. Oh, that was the
whipping. Lost him now. Yeah, he must have dropped down.
Yeah. And if he comes back or doesn't, whatever, thank you very much for being here, Scott. I tell you. And sorry, panel. I know that I was coming on, but you got to remember, put yourself in my position. 2 things. I agree with the man. And the other thing is, as the host, I mean, Britisher, I could have let you just have at him. Cutlass is out. And he would have been fine and everything, but I don't know. Maybe I overdo it. But I did try to get in there, and if I did too much, I'm sorry, everybody. That was really great, though, huh? I love having people like that. Oh, here he's back. He's coming back. Hey, so in case anything happens, Mr. Presler, make sure that you give us right now the June 10th march against Sharia. I believe he said, give us whatever information so that'll be recorded for posterity in case anything does happen.
Yeah, and put like the links in the description of the stream as well, Ogre. I think that people can
I'll get them. I'll look to your
Well,
Twitter.
actually,
and I'll put them up.
I think the finder was asking me a question, but please continue. I just plugged in my computer.
Oh no,
It was a Mark doppelganger actually.
Yeah, so should I start it from beginning?
Yeah, I think that would be optimum.
Great.
Please.
So as European, I'm observing here a huge influx of Islamists and Islamism. This is worrying for various reasons, and also to some extent to USA just as well. So my question is, at what point should we start advising our gay friends or gay members of family to maybe move someplace safe? Or would you personally perhaps at some point decide that the Islamism is just too heavy and it's time to move? Or would you rather stay behind and do some fighting, something like that?
I mean, I'm going to fight here in America, but first I'm going to address the first part of your question. We are going to have a rally, you know, gays against Sharia in Manchester, actually. Manchester, the city that was just bombed at an Ariana Grande concert by a radical terrorist. I mean, the time to start telling women and gays about the threat of this radical ideology was 20 years ago, 10 years ago, decades ago. I mean, at this point, it's come to the point where there are no-go zones. And look at Chechnya. We are now seeing a rise of anti-Semitism. We're seeing a rise of homophobia. We are seeing a rise of sexual assault crimes. We just had a guy, I read an article where he raped a 10-year-old boy because it was a sexual emergency. I'm going to say that one more time because it's so unthinkable. A sexual emergency was the reason why he raped somebody. That this is the culture that we are importing into European countries and into America. Why are we, thank you very much, thank you. Why are we importing a culture that is totally inconsistent with Western values? I just don't understand it, I don't get it. So again, it was 10 years ago that we should have done it.
Kill it with fire. That's what I say to that. Kill it with fire.
It's education. We have to educate people, but let me tell you one thing. America is the last country on this planet where we have the most freedoms and the most rights. So I'm not running. I'm going to fight right here on our soil in my country to make sure that these laws and these ideologies don't come after women and don't come after gays and don't come after children and don't come after my constitutionally protected rights. I'm not running. I'm fighting here because if America falls, that's it. There is no running.
And what's up, Doppelganger? If you got something important, how you doing, Amanda?
Yeah, I'm having an eye out on our stream chat, and I see one of our long-term friends, a gay woman. She just said, "I'm going to the march." So thank you. She's with you.
Cool.
No, thank you so much. And it's being led by a guy named Tommy English. If you type in like Tommy English in the Twitter, you'll see gays against Sharia UK, I believe is the hashtag. And this is the time. This is the time to stand. This is the time to fight. This is the time to educate. This is the time to rally together, united as one. And the fact of the matter is who is actually for female genital mutilation? Who is actually for women being told that they can't leave the house? Who is actually for child marriages and forced marriages and honor killings and honor violence? Who are for these things? So if you are against Sharia, and I'm going to do the Sharia plugin now, I urge you, go to actforamerica.org/rally. We are now in 20 states and 25 cities, and we are fighting against each of these things. So if you believe that we need to get rid of misogynistic laws, if you believe that we need to stamp out homophobia where we're actually murdering people because of their sexuality, if you believe that we need to stand against female genital mutilation, then you need to march with us. Because if you are not with us, you are tacitly, silently approving of something. You need to get some chutzpah and get 2 scoops of ice cream and join us on June 10th, 2017.
Hey, that's a good spiel right there, brother. Yeah, go ahead, Amanda. I was just going to break in for you if you got something. Welcome, Amanda.
Hey, yeah, I got 2 things. Let's see if I remember them both by the time I get to the second one. First thing is, my my idea, kill it with fire, that works for education, man. They come over to a country where they know their ways aren't acceptable. They continue to try to rape a 10-year-old boy and claim it was a sexual emergency. Kill it with fire, and none of the other ones are going to make that mistake. Kill it with fire publicly.
I mean, we definitely. I'm sorry to interrupt you. It was either Doppelganger or it was the Lennox on here, the fox creature. He made a good point that we need to shame people. We need to publicly shame and criticize and disparage and call monsters anybody who is for any of these things. Call them out. Drive them out of your communities, drive them out of your places of worship, drive them out of society, and drive them to hell.
This always kicks me right when I'm about to talk.
Yeah, go ahead, Amanda. Keep on going, girl.
I was going to say, I've said before, I think we should bring back public shamings in the stocks as a punishment for certain things. Like, definitely, that is necessary.
Yeah, but I also, on the subject of shaming as well, I made this point earlier on another stream tonight. A lot of people are making this point that remember that these radical terrorists base their whole belief on their honor. They're doing it for the martyrdom. But if we can show that they're actually doing it out of cowardice, they're doing it to absolve them of all their sins, they're doing it out of a self-interested point of view, then we can shame them in public and show that, and when them as suicidal, not as martyrs, but actually just damaged individuals that wanted suicide, then they will see it as a sin and they will not do it anymore. Because in Islam, if you commit suicide, then you go to hell. So then you basically shame them out of their entire motivation.
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Amanda, please.
I was just going to say, I had a similar thing where I retweeted that dynamite or whatever, it's made from pig products, so that, you know, makes them ineligible for heaven or whatever because it coats their body. But someone pointed out to me that that doesn't matter because their whole belief system is based on the fact that actually killing themselves for Islam washes away that sin.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, even
but
that one, I didn't know. That was terrible Ted Nugent that said that, by the way.
Yeah, that's why a lot
and
of
it's not only that, guys, but
they always go for suicide by cop or something, another entity killing them, because then they're not committing suicide. I remember there's a specific case of like a terrorist where they tried to kill him, but then they only shot him in the back, so he was paralyzed. And then the resulting court cases, he tried to sabotage his own case so he could get the death penalty, because then he could die a martyr. Point again that they want to die as a martyr so their sins can be absolved. But if we can expose that they're actually doing it for suicidal reasons, for the reason that they actually want to die, then we can shame them in public.
And isn't the March Against Sharia, isn't that part of that shaming, Scott? I know you're chomping to get in here. I appreciate it.
It is. Well, it's so much more than that, guys, because, I mean, look, we have different definitions. What is your definition of justice? I'm willing to bet that an imam's definition of justice is not the same as yours. So not only that, but let's talk about 3 examples of disgustingness that should be shameful, that isn't. A bombing in Baghdad at an ice cream parlor. A prayer bus full of Coptic children attacked. And let's talk about 8-year-old Sophie. 8-year-old Sophie just wanted to go listen to pop music at an Ariana Grande concert in Manchester. We're talking about children's lives, young, innocent children being blown up. This is something that is not shaming these people. This is not shaming them whatsoever. But I do want to continue this on the March for Sharia. March against.
And that little girl, Inan, I think was her name, that 11-year-old little girl, she posted the YouTube videos about how she was a child bride and forced to marry and raped all the time, and she ran away from it. And then shortly after she posted the videos, 2 men came onto her school bus, took her off it, and killed her.
Oh, with the religion of peace. Watch this Islamophobia, man. Scott's going to get angry. No, I don't know what to say, man. That's when you think about this. It's being forced down our throat, and then I was watching the young
like I said on my video I made on Manchester, where I said that with Sadiq Khan saying that, and a lot of European leaders saying you just need to get used to it. Well, when I send, yeah, if you send your children to a concert and you don't know whether you're going to see them alive again, that's a pretty fucking dark reality to just get used to. I'm sorry, like that's a huge demand.
This touches a sore spot. And Scott, it was very cool that you mentioned the Coptics in Egypt, because we were just talking about that today. They went on the bus and they were like, you know, swear off your God and give your, you know, to, what do they say? Give your heart to Islam, whatever. I don't know what you do. And then read the hadiths once a day and pray 5 times or we'll kill you. They were like, kill us. And they killed them, mowed them down.
And that's like Miriam Ibrahim. At our rally in Virginia Beach, Virginia, we actually have a woman coming who was imprisoned for being a Christian. She was imprisoned for her religious beliefs. And she's coming to our rally to talk about that your religious beliefs shouldn't mean that you're sent to prison because of that. But I do want to talk about the rally and who's coming. We not only have a Muslim in Atlanta who is against Sharia, we have Mark Laurie, who's an ex-Muslim, who's going to be talking in Seattle, who's an apostate. Apostasy is actually a death sentence under Islam. We also have gay people like me. We have tons of LGBTQ members that are coming together to protest against this homophobic, misogynistic ideology. So I really want to show the diversity that we have in this rally. It is not just a bunch of, you know, Trump supporters that are angry. We've got brown people, Hispanics, Iranians, Muslims, Christians, ex-Muslims, Jews, gays, transgender. We even have transgender women coming to our rally. So I don't want to hear it for a second that this is something that cannot cross cultural boundaries and societal boundaries. This is something that should be important to every single person in the United States of America.
Can I add something? I remembered what the second point I wanted to make earlier was, when it comes to female genital mutilation, I know you're talking about a specific thing in a specific religion right now, and that's mainly what they do, but we should also, when we're speaking about America, talk about male genital mutilation and the fact that they need to stop that. They need to stop tricking young parents into thinking that that's something they have to or should do.
I'm not there 100% yet. I think the difference between male circumcision and female genital mutilation is as follows. And this is going to get a little graphic, so I'm sorry for that. But the difference between these two is the clitoris is analogous to the head of a penis. And so under jurisprudence for Sharia law, they actually chop off the woman's length. And so it would be analogous to chopping off a man's head. And so that is not the actual definition of circumcision. And plus, I think that one could argue that there are health benefits to male circumcision, whereas there are no health benefits whatsoever to removing a woman's genitalia. And women should not be female genitally mutilated.
I'm not touching this one. Oh, go ahead, Amanda, with the follow-up. But, you know, Scott's been here. I just want to point out, Scott, you've been here for 55 minutes. We appreciate every one of them. I'm not going to be here much longer. Yeah, you have 5 more for me. I appreciate it if you round off the hour. I was told by Boom that it's nice because people that listen in Australia, they say you can't go anywhere unless it's a half hour and it's hour round trip. So if you do it in an hour, at least, you know, people have that to listen to. So what is it, Amanda? We'll let him wrap it up after this and end on a happier note than penises and cut off clitorises. Thank you, man.
Well, I'm not saying it is exactly the same thing, but when you look at how prevalent circumcision, if you don't like calling it male genital mutilation, but when you look at how prevalent circumcision is, the health benefits are only for a small amount of people who were going to have a lot of infections and stuff to begin with. Like probably my oldest son, probably a better idea that he is circumcised because he was very sensitive in that area and got a lot of infections anyway. But for the majority of children, it's not necessary, and you are hurting them. And
I agree to a certain extent. It's almost like this is a really bad example, but here's how I would compare it. It's almost like society telling everybody they have to go to college to succeed. You don't have to get a 4-year degree, and you don't have to get yourself into $120,000 worth of debt to succeed in this world. And the same could be for circumcision. You don't necessarily have to have that, just for the health benefits, etc. So I will concede with you, Amanda, that society definitely does pressure us to circumcise males.
Look at the Kellogg.
And look, we could again. I appreciate that. In fact, everything's been extremely interesting to me. But I'm going to say something real quick and let you wrap it up, Scott. This is what you do for me, son. You're young, You're handsome. You're intelligent. And you say things that I wish that I could say the way that you say them. So I'm just going to encourage you again from the bottom of my heart. Run for office, boy. You only live once. What are you going to be doing in 8 years anyways? You might as well run. Don't matter what part, whatever. Just go ahead and get it done, because we need more people like you, in my opinion, representing us in the hallowed halls of legislator. So is there something you want to say? Because you said that you got 3 more minutes left, and I want you did a great job plugging that thing, but when are you going to ever make any content, if ever? And I did like the short things that you do when a vote's coming up. When's the next time I can look to see, Mr. Presler putting up a little short one of what you're good at, in my opinion? Nice little clip to let us know what's going on.
Honestly, I get my inspiration from what's around me. If I see something on Twitter and I'm inspired, I'll make a video. So I don't make a video because I have to, or because I'm on a deadline. I do it because I'm passionate, I'm inspired. And that's really, I think, why I've been successful on Facebook and Twitter, because I put my heart and soul and everything, my passion, my fire, into my media. And I think that's why it soars, and why I'm at 88,000 followers right now. I've been very, very blessed, and I want to use my platform to help other people, and I want to use my platform to help make America a better place. So to anybody, again, listening, please register to vote. Please get your mom and dad registered to vote. Please get your friends registered to vote, and make a plan to vote on Tuesday, November 6th, 2018, for district terms.
Oh, I was muted there. Thanks a lot, Scott. I'll tell you what, man, it's been a pleasure having you on. I'd like to have you back on maybe in a couple months, see what's shaking then, and if you're not busy. It's, to me, just like you said, you got a staggering amount of people that follow you. I guess there are folks that have millions, but you got quite a lot, and you're pretty diligent on that stuff. This is the second time in a row that I'm not pestered you. I just say, hey, man, and when I shoot you something, you're so good at getting back. I just want to thank you so much for that, about your diligence. It seems like with everybody that's interested in learning something or being a part of what you're a part of. Man, you're a great facilitator. So thanks a lot.
Thank you for giving me a platform, and thank every single one of you for being here. And I like that the Britisher does not back down. I do like that fighting spunk and that spirit. So I want to see more of that from my British people, and I'm very glad to see that you guys did Brexit. So it's still around. You got that fighting spirit.
I've been teaching Britisher how to shank people.
You voted Remain. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
I'd just like to get in a last word. Scott, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing an incredible job in terms of branding. Like, really, you have a real big online presence, and you do a great job maintaining it. And just keep fighting the big fight. Keep persisting. I really like the slogan of the persistence. I think it's going to really resonate with people. I see great success for your movement and for your protest on the 10th. I'm definitely going to tune in and see how that goes.
Me too.
Thank you.
Yeah, you need to have him on after the thing, Ogre, so he can talk about how it went and everything.
Oh, we'll see how it goes. And if he wants to pop in anytime, he'll always be welcome. But with these folks like Mr. Presler, he's obviously a busy man. I don't know if he ever sleeps. If he does, God bless him. And so I don't, I don't want to wear, what do they say? Keep it a treat. So whatever he would like to do. But of course, Scott, if you want to, you can contact me 2-3 different ways. Any one of the ways you do, I'll get back to you just like you have me. If you ever want to just get on there and say, yeah, I will. So thanks a lot, brother, because I don't want to keep you here much longer either. If you got things to do, I know I do. I got to get boogieing. I got stuff to do out in the backyard.
Yeah, the Trump train never sleeps.
No, we don't. We can't. We honestly can't sleep. But Ogre, you have my personal cell phone. Call me, text me, whatever you need me. I'll come on the Ogre show.
Thanks, brother, man. You always got my support. As soon as I see who you, I do little videos, man, and I don't have a ton of people that watch, but some do, and I hope it has some small. All right, folks, I'm gonna get the hell out of here.
I'm gonna put the stream on my channel as well, so you're gonna get that that audience tapped as well.
Yeah,
it spreads out.
This is why I don't get my content out regularly. Y'all don't sleep. I got 2 kids. I sure as shit do sleep.
We have to rest eventually. It's just nice for me to know that there's folks out there. Not all of them agree with me 100%. I could have jumped on the train, and pointed out some things that I feel like Trump, he did maybe not he dropped the ball on a couple things. But, when you already got somebody like my bro over there, I knew he was going to come swinging, because me and the Britisher talk. I know where he stands. I just do feel like maybe it's an American thing that if we're trying to achieve something like Trump was, and it's going to be the end for me, folks. I'm going to say these words and probably haul, but I really do have some work to do. It's been such a pleasure to have you on. Listening to you and Britt go at it. We have to have you on sometime, in my opinion, on a Sunday, which we have a little debate time, and you two can go at each other. All I'll do is moderate. If it goes over 3 minutes apiece, I'll stop you and let the other person go. It'll be a good old time. It really will. Because I don't think either one of you gentlemen have feelings in that regard. It's just, hey, this is my opinion. This is how it is, how I see it. So listen, folks, remember this. Let this be a lesson if you can. That sometimes we do and say things to get a point across, to get people on our side. Is that wrong? Does that make us a liar? I hope to God not, because I do it all the fucking time. I mean, it's human nature. It's also the desire to win, the desire to come out on top. And in my humble opinion, I think I at least have Scott on my side with this one. Trump comes out on top. Seems like no matter what they throw at him, he keeps on rising, the cream, like right to the top of
winning.
He can't stop winning. People are so sick of it. They're smearing him everywhere I look for nothing, for things that everybody does. So you know what I'm going to say, folks. Remember this week. Be good to your friends. Be good to your family members. Be good to your loved ones. Be quick to say you're sorry. Be even quicker to accept an apology, especially when that thing your friend, your family member, your loved one has done seems to be so huge, you'll never be able to forget about it. Because, constant viewer, at a time you think not, your friends, your family members, your loved ones, your life and your cause, and maybe even your president will depart from you.